Hello, welcome back to Prometheus Podcast. My name is Landon Wade. I'm here with Colin Burns.
Howdy.
And Sean Ju. Today we're going to bring you a lightning round talking about something dear and precious to pretty much all of us, even though we may not recognize how dear and precious it is. We're going to talk about money. Colin and I believe in God. Sean believes in money. So Sean's going to go ahead and kick us off. We're actually going to skip.
This sounded a lot better.
Yeah, this sounded a lot better
just
when we were
rehearsing it.
practicing. What we're going to skip is the day in the life because pretty much not much has changed. We're just still working on projects and stuff. We can update you guys next week on all that good stuff. We're going to jump right into the money subject because it's pretty dense. My guess is we could pull a few episodes out of this, but just for you guys today, we're going to do a 15, 20-minute segment, something just real quick to get our feet wet a little bit. So you go ahead, Sean. You start talking about money for us.
I mean, money is the modern god because you can't talk about money without talking about how powerful and important it is. So, money has become the modern god, as one can say. When it comes to money, it doesn't really end at a level of a tool that we use. Because money is meant to be a tool. It's meant to be a trading tool.
Correct.
To make things easier for us so we don't have to, bring a cow to trade in for a bike. We can just do all that with simple standardized currency that we have.
Right.
And how it really became the modern god is a lengthy process, I believe, has some similarities with how, from the atheist standpoint, God became the God. People needed, I believe that, I'm not an expert in religion, but for someone that doesn't believe in the Lord, I think religion was found upon the needs of the people and needs of a sort of a scapegoat for people. Somebody to thank to and somebody to blame to when things are going good and things are going bad. And money's the same. Money didn't develop in a same sense, but it followed the pretty close footsteps where in religion, the big thing was the standardization between people all across the world. And that's why Christianity became the biggest religion in the world. It's because how it's standardized across the earth. And it doesn't matter if you're in the heart of Texas or somewhere in Russia. If you are a Christian, you're probably reading the same Bible with the same set of sayings and same set of rules. You're not reading a Bible that says this and the other person's reading a Bible that says that. So standardization became a big thing in religion, and so did in currency. People needed something that they can trust to trade, which was gold. And then the gold was then represented by paper currency and coins. And now, Bitcoins. No, not Bitcoins. I think that's sort of how I theorize the money becoming the new god of the 21st century. And really, for someone that doesn't have a religious standpoint, it's something that I can really kind of pray to and lean on when I'm having a hard time. Because no matter how harsh my life goes, if I have $20 in my hand, I can always go to a bar at the end of the day and buy a couple rounds of beer. And hopefully go to sleep and not do any studio work.
Hopefully avoid the architecture work
Yeah.
that's included afterwards.
That's most of the hardships in my life right now.
Interesting. Okay. So, I think I understand what you're getting at, relating that to...
I don't really expect you guys to say, "Oh my God, this is the breakthrough theory. I'm gonna believe in money."
Well, no, the irony is how similar. I guess the connection, I guess, that we've put between money and religion is just a very interesting correlation, and that's been something you and I have brought up a couple times in our
multiple discussions.
in our recent conversations. There's been a lot. There are a lot of correlations actually between religion and money, because they are both very systematic. I guess depending on, I think currency is almost always systematic because it comes down to basic math.
Yeah, currency has to be
Religion gets, there are some kind of iffy points.
I think it's a play on words. If you change faith into math, and if you change a couple other words and replace it with something else, then it becomes very similar.
Which I think is kind of interesting because at the same time you said that one single currency is kind of one thing that was sought for. That really isn't completely the reality. You go to one place in the world, you have one type of currency, and I think.
Well, you go to some place in the world and you have a different God. Well,
and
exactly. Name for the God.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. So like even in religion, it's the same way. Even within Christianity, we know that there are several different sects, and they decide to choose. They decide on there are different versions, different translations of even the text of even the Bible and things like that. So I think it's kind of, well, honestly, it's a really interesting correlation between the two of them. Also considering that historically, I'm jumping the architecture part already. Ooh. But historically speaking, religion is something that came through a lot in architecture, because in terms of the Roman Catholic Church maintaining their power.
There are styles of architecture that has solely to do with religion.
It's just really, and it became, we know about, what was it called, the Council of Seven or something like that. It was when, what was it? Around the Renaissance. It was right after the Renaissance. It was the start of the Baroque period.
Oh, how the Baroque started.
Yeah, it's how the Baroque started. So there was an actual council that was held. The Catholic Church had a council, and they began campaigning to get people to come back to church because
through Baroque style of architecture,
exactly,
and writings and art,
through Baroque style of architecture and all that kind of stuff, which to me personally is ironic because that was the most hideous style of architecture. To me personally, I think it's gross.
I think you're gross.
Yeah, but I find that interesting. So kind of my question is where do we see that kind of thing with money? So with religion and architecture, there's that kind of connection where, okay, we have, religion using architecture as a tool to help, they would probably phrase it, to help people come to church, to encourage people to come back to church. I mean, so with money,
general skyscrapers and general just fancy buildings done by architects for the rich people. The Trump Tower is a great example. Because Trump Tower is, to me, it doesn't look too good for me. It's not the best of its quality. It's not. I would fix a lot of things in the Trump Tower, but I'm just a student, so that doesn't really matter. But I think Trump Tower was, ironically, the best way to show how much money he has, how much money he really has. It's because that real estate of where the Trump Tower is built is in the heart of where the most expensive pieces of land are.
So it became a symbol of power.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of funny because it's kind of funny how you said it becomes a symbol of power, because that is kind of where I was getting at, is money becomes a direct response to the power nowadays, because more money equals to more power.
That is true. I don't think anybody could really argue with that.
Yeah.
That money does equal power, because the more money you have, the more choices you have and how to spend it,
and more influence you have on others.
That is true. That is true.
So I think general skyscraper designs in most cases are really the definition of how it kind of steps into the same footsteps of how the Baroque and the Catholics were related. But now it's sort of an individual show off of how much money they have, instead of a group or a religion using it as a tool to show how much power or how great they are.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because no longer do you see today, I guess there are exceptions, but typically churches aren't really built on the monumental scale like they were in the Baroque period and the Renaissance period. It's because that power of because okay, so even before the Baroque, the church still
Churches were still
they still built
ginormous.
churches at a monumental scale that were to some people they were seen as belittling structures. You'd walk in and you just feel this awesome this awesome space around you, and it made you feel small. It really it made you feel insignificant.
You were out of scale.
Yeah, one grain of sand in an ocean kind of a thing. And so that was done even before the Baroque. Like ever since I think even ever since the Roman Catholic Church really became even into the Greeks and like the Romans and Greeks.
The temples.
Pretty much ever since religion, the
and
architecture was.
That's just to remind the followers that they are really out of scale when it comes to the power of whoever.
Yeah. Well,
that's in charge.
And so that is less seen today in religious architecture. It is more seen today
in the monetary value of architecture.
Yeah, in terms of I don't know what you'd call it. Wouldn't necessarily be like financial architecture, but in the financial world, or businesses and banks build big buildings. In the city of Austin, Texas, for example, the Frost Bank building is very well known. The Trump building.
Yeah, pretty good example is the Bird's Nest in Beijing, China, that was built for the Olympics.
That's right. That was that Herzog?
That was, I think it was Herzog de Meuron.
I'll look it up really quick. I want to make sure.
Or SLM. I'm not sure.
It was either OMA or Herzog. Anyway.
I think it was Herzog. But that Bird's Nest was built in such complex and delicate level with a monumental, not really monumental, but a little bigger in a scale of how you think of a stadium. And it was built that way to show that Beijing as a city and China as a country is to show off their powers and show off their financial abilities to the world. Because Summer Olympics is a really great showcase for a country, for especially a developing country, to show off to the world that we've grown this much and we have this much.
Yeah. So that is Herzog. Herzog de Meuron is the main firm that built that.
Yeah.
You mentioning the Olympics is an interesting thing because I think doing kind of this time comparison again, in the past, architecture was one of the only ways to really display a country's or a government's or an organization's prowess. It was because they couldn't just go throwing money on the streets to say, hey, I have a lot of money. Yeah. They would build huge buildings or beautiful buildings. That was kind of the thing. But today, because of the interconnectivity of humans, we have the Olympics, we have all sorts of events, and it's kind of a thing.
It used to be the Expos, the World Expos, the Eiffel Tower of the 1889 Expo in Paris.
Exactly. So it's like the events have kind of taken a little bit of that away from architecture, because it used to architecture, I think, used to kind of own the monopoly in terms of showing off money.
Yeah. Now it became sort of a technology.
Now it becomes technology, events, military. Is another good way for government to display power. Guess so. That one's historic, though. I guess architecture has always shared that with military. But it is interesting because with the Olympics and even at the university, at the college we go to, there has been a change in leadership, and one of the things they've changed is really making more events happen, bringing in lecturers and things like that. It is a display of power and of money in a lot of instances. In our case, I don't think it specifically.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't really have to be bad of an intention.
It never is malicious. Well, okay, never know. It doesn't always have to be malicious, because there's a lot of benefit in showing the power of something, or in the status of things. Colin's got his thinking face on. He's just absorbing all of this.
But
sipping on a drink.
That's why I don't truly believe that the money is the new God. I don't think money can be the new God, because there are a lot of fundamental differences.
Fundamental.
You're mental.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it shares so many similarities that I think people miss out on, and it's something. It's an interesting thought to have, to really kind of able to observe how important money is in the modern day society. Because without money, nothing really goes around. And it's really about our financial situations that really sort of define who we are nowadays.
Well, and you said something earlier at the very beginning. You talked about God being, for a lot of people, or your perspective of what God is, being something some people can rely on in
also
in difficult
on.
times, and at the same time blame things on. I mean, money is no different.
Yeah.
Because money is something definitely all of us rely on money. Some people use money to gain power and things like that. Others blame money.
Mm-hmm.
You think of there's a great population that
Say money is evil.
I'm on politically unstable ground by getting into this subject, but there are those who would prefer that the spread of wealth is a more even spread.
Ooh.
Things like that. Well, you get into that because that's a way of them hating money, and that they're blaming money for their issues. You know, people blaming big corporations and things like that for their suffering, which, you know, it's, you never really know who's to blame in situations like that, which is kind of an interesting thing. But it does have that similarity as well.
It is money really has taken over most parts of human lives and normal society, like what you can define as a norm of societies.
Well, and I think in the realm of architecture, money has.
Oh yeah, money plays a giant role.
It honestly sucks because it's a huge limitation. You would be hard pressed as an architect, you know, if you're not on the famous level like Herzog de Meuron or Renzo Piano or Frank Lloyd Wright.
Zaha
Hadid. Yeah. You would be hard pressed to find a project that doesn't have a budget, you know, or a project that they say go for it. Mm-hmm. You know, the sky's the limit. Build what you want.
Oh, no.
Or, you know, that's really an unheard of thing. It's very rare for architects to find that unless they're on that famous level. And even then, there are limitations of money, and so it's
not the sky's the limit.
It's kind of the string on the kite.
Saying.
It's kind of a string on the kite, because at the same time, money keeps us going, because in architecture it becomes architecture is a symbol of money, so people want to build.
You look at all careers, and really the ultimate goal is to make money.
It's true.
That's why we have careers. It's not I think we've passed the stages of us building houses because we have to live in it, and we have to do these because we want to feed ourselves and hunt and gather. We've passed that stage as a human civilization. I think all parts of the world have passed that stage of human civilization.
No, not some.
I mean, okay, like Papua New Guinea, but they're cannibals in that island, so I really don't think common sense kind of goes into that. Our common sense doesn't really apply in that.
I'm just saying,
part.
if you go to any third world country, there are plenty of villages that still hunt and gather and rely on that.
Yeah, but there are still people in that third world country that goes around with money, because third world country isn't third world country because they haven't been exposed to the modern society. They're third world country.
No, the only point I'm getting at is to say that that type of living is obsolete, is invalid. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I was getting at.
But what I'm trying to say is that no matter if you like or dislike money, it's a big part of who we are.
But I don't think you should let money determine what you do.
It becomes a sort of a personal choice, as in like, kind of it. I kind of compare. I like comparing this with religion too, because some people really get into religion. They do things. They live their lives by the scripture, and some people go to church every Sunday, but kind of take it lightly, and sure, like they'll follow things like, oh yeah, do not murder, do not, I guess, cheat with other people's wives. Yeah. But other than that, they're kind of living freely. not super restricted by it. So I think at that point you just have to make a choice for yourself. It's like, what kind of person do I want to be?
Well, and at the same time, going off the religious thing, there are people that black and white follow, for example, the commandments, things like that, and there are people that do it just because they know they should.
Yeah.
And there are people that do it because they understand why, they have an understanding, and they choose to do so because they understand the whole picture.
Yeah.
And money is exactly the same way. There are people, I think, that are kind of ruled by their money. They go to work a job they hate because they know they got to pay the bills, and like they pay the bills, and whatever they can scrape up together that's left, they'll buy a concert ticket.
Yeah.
And they'll have a good night once in every 3 months or whatever, going to a concert.
That's sad.
But when you start to understand the whole picture, you become the ruler of money in your life. You start to budget, personal finance, and things like that.
Start investing. Start rolling money to get more money.
Get your money to work for yourself and stuff.
Yeah.
And in the business of architecture, I think it's really no different. I think there are architects that are reacting to money instead of proactively planning to invest and help their money grow and their business grow at the same time.
And unless if you're super blessed and you have parents that can lend you a small loan of $1 million whenever you move out of your house, then I really think reacting for first few parts of your life is going to be a kind of a requirement.
Even then, you'll end up there somehow, So
some of us become presidents, and some of us just become architects, I guess.
Yeah, really. Well, I think that's a good, pretty good stopping place. I think we've approached this topic from all sides. What we really ended up doing, I guess, we said we'd start by just talking about money. I think we really ended up talking about the similarities between religion and money and how those two relate to architecture. It's kind of it's a holy trinity in a way: religion, architecture, and money.
The Father, the
Son,
and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you want to call it that, but I'd say that's a pretty good wrap. We're coming up on 25 minutes, so we're sorry we're taking another 5 minutes out of your day. Colin, do you have any final comments? Colin's here to make sure we stay in line. If we start saying anything, it's a little outrageous. He usually corrects Sean. He never corrects me.
Well, you two usually agree with each other.
Yes, usually I over-represent, I think. I need to let Colin talk a little bit more.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I sit in the middle between both of you. I sit more towards, I have this belief that there's an importance in money and there's an equal importance in religion. And I like to think of them as tools, per se. And, we ourselves are a carpenter, and you use the money or what you believe in as a tool to sculpt what you're going to be in your life. So for me to completely lean to one side, I don't think is fair to myself.
Yeah.
But, that's the whole I just wasn't in the argument today. I was more just absorbing, because this is a conversation I haven't had with any of y'all. So I was really just absorbing.
Regardless, I think that's a pretty good final comment.
Well, I think I hop on that train, dude. I think that's totally valid. I believe the same thing. I think money and
I don't have to personally believe in it to know it sounds right.
Anyway, well, cool. Well, that's our wrap up here from the Prometheus Podcast Studio.
Good Friday,
right.
Everybody.
It is
Friday.
It is Good Friday. It is April 30th, the day we're recording this. Good Friday.
That's why we
attaboy, baby Jesus.
That's why we talk about religion.
Have a great weekend, a great Easter weekend.
Stay safe. Cops are after you.
Well, if you are Christian, have a great Easter weekend. If not, still a great Easter weekend. You just don't call it an Easter weekend. Have a great normal weekend. Yeah. And we will see y'all we will talk to y'all next week. That'd be great to see you too. Comment, post, share, do that all that cool stuff.
Like, donate.
Sean will do anything for $5.
Sean Jew will do anything.
Not $5. Depending on how much you donate, I will choose what I do.
Sean Jew will do anything. I don't think you
get the liberty to choose anymore.
My actions will depend on the amount of money.
And he worships money, so you get to do whatever you want. All right. Bye.
Bye.